How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tzadi Aleph, Daf 91 of Masechta BavaKama. Friends, Friends, Daf Tzadi Aleph is a big old daf. Some interesting stuff here. It's a big old daf. I got my noise cancelling headphones. I got a coffee. I got my friends at Babylon Talmud. What else do you need? Drink a little coffee. Let's go. We're going to start in Daf Tzadi Amud Beis, about 5-6 lines from the bottom with the 2 dots. Tanu Rabbonon. There is a big old daf. The rabbis taught, Shor Tam Shehemis Vehizik. Whoa. This gets a little complicated. Not yet. When we get to Tzadi Aleph Mud Aleph, that's where it starts getting still complicated. I did it last night. I was so tired. I was falling asleep. I didn't learn, my shtick. I was reviewing it last night, and then I got too tired. So whatever. Hopefully I got this straight. But this part, it's not so hard yet. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. Shor Tam Shemis Vehizik. Okay, so you have a short tam. I'm not going to explain what that is. Sorry. Okay, a short tam is a shore that has not yet been worn 3 times. Okay, so if a short tam, as opposed to short mud, okay, I'm not getting into this. You know what this is. Tanu Rabbanan, short tam. So short tam shehemis v'hizik, a short tam that killed a fellow, and then afterwards damaged a fellow. I'm so happy I have coffee because I'm feeling it right now. So it's just good to know that I have it. Donin also dine nefashis, vein donin also dine mominis. So we judge him dine nefashis, alright, meaning we gotta kill the shore, because it's dangerous to kill the person, but not dine mominis. I don't remember if the Gemara is going to explain it, but I think the point is that, right, as we know, shor tam, or chatzi nezek mishalim migufo, that the chatzi nezek of a tam is paid from the body of the ox itself. And we're saying that the ox is chayiv misa, because it killed somebody. So therefore, if the ox is chayiv misa, so then you can't then go and pay for a separate damages, because the payment would be from the body of the ox, but the ox itself is chayiv misa, so it doesn't have a value. Okay, so where are we now? Muad shehemis veizik. Now, if a shor muad. Now, a shor muad shehemis that kills somebody, so we have to kill the shor muad. But vehizik, and also damaged. Well, of course, a shor muad is mishalim aliyah. The owner pays from his own property. So if that's the case, let's kill the shor and let's pay from the owner's property. So muad shehemis vehizik, a shor muad that killed and then damaged. Done in also dine mominis. So first we judge the dine mominis case, and we have the owner pay me aliyah. We done also dine nefashis, and then we judge the dine nefashis case, and we put the shore to death. We stone the shore. Kadmu v'danu dine nefashis. If they did it fakert, if they first judged the dine nefashis case, in which case the shore is going to be condemned to stoning, and then so then ein chozin v'danin also dine mominis. We do not afterwards judge the dine mominis case. V'chi kadmu v'danu dine nefashis mai have. To which the Gemara says, who cares? Meaning, if we're saying that a shor muad, right? Meaning a shor that kills somebody, so we stone the shor. But if we're saying that by a shor muad, by damages, it's mishalim min aliyah, it's not migufo shel shor. So who cares if you judge the dine nefashis case first? Judge the dine mominis case second, and let the owner pay from his property. So the hadav lidani dine mominis. So who cares? Even if you judge the dine nefashis case first, so judge the dine mominis case second. Why does it have to be that you have to judge the dine mominis case before the dine nefashis case? But if you judge the dine nefashis case first, then you lose. Then you don't judge the dine mominis case at all. How come? Omar, so it says Rave, but there's a gears to change to Rabba. I prefer Rabba because I think we saw recently a similar incident with Rabba where Ashkechasinu l'Rabbanu levei Rab, that Rabba says that he saw the students in the academy, the Asve v'Kamri, that they were saying, Hamani Rib Shimin Hatimni He. Well, the author of this Braise is Rib Shimin Hatimni, who we saw at the end of the daf yesterday, which was that you have to bring the evidence to Bezdin, which would mean that in this case of this ox that killed and then caused damages, you would have to bring the ox to the Bezdin for the case. And if you first judge the Dine Nefashis case, then that means that by the time you get to the Dine Mominis case, this cow already needs to be killed. And yet you're going to have to bring the cow to Bezdin. Right? The Omar that Reb Shimon HaTimni said, "Ma'egrif miyuchad shemasu le'edav le'edim," that just like a fist is something that the witnesses witness, that and the fist, of course, comes to Bezdin with the defendant. So Amo ba'inon umdinon advedino, which means that the sort of the tool of damage or whatever, I don't know, whatever you call it, the damaging thing, whether it's a fist, whether it's an ox, needs to come to Bezdin. Veha, but in this case, if you first judge the Dina Nefashis case with this ox, Kevon de Gomar Dina Liktala, since if you judge the Dina Nefashis case first, this ox is already going to be condemned to be stoned. Lo mashinon lei leumdina devedina, we're not going to delay the stoning of this ox so that it can be brought to Bezdin for the Dine Mominis case. V'lo ma'aninon ledine, there's something called ino yadin, which is that we don't kind of drag out a verdict, right? A what's it called? So, something justice. What's it called when serving justice, right? Rather, if this ox is chayiv skila, so that's it. We do it ASAP. We're not going to defer the skila so that we could then schlep the ox out to Bezdin so that we could start now opening a fresh case of Dine Mominis. No. If the ox is condemned to be stoned, we stone the ox and that's that, and then we don't do the Dine Mominis case. So we say that it's like Reb Shimon, that's prices of Reb Shimon Timni Davke, that you have to bring the evidence to Bezdin, and that's not an option over here. Therefore, if you judge the Dine Nefashis case first, and this ox needs to be stoned, then you wouldn't judge the Dine Mominis afterwards. I'm going to chap a shtickle coffee. Do you drink coffee when you learn Babylon Talmud? I feel like I asked this the other day. Right? Adrian, you drink coffee when you do Babylon Talmud, or you dafka saying that you usually do it at night, so you don't drink coffee, but that daf was so long that you would have had to drink coffee, but maybe it was too late. What's pshat, Rabbi Adrian? Okay. Where are we? Fine. So now, says Rabbah, and I replied to these young whippersnappers, Afilu tema Rabakive. You don't have to say that the Brisa is Davka Rib Shimon Timni. You can even say the Brisa is like Rabakive. This is where things get a little bit confusing, or at least get confusing when it's the nighttime and you're really tired. You can even say it's like Rabakiva. What did Rabakiva say? Rabakiva said that you don't have to bring the evidence to Bezdin. As long as the witnesses saw it, we rely on the witnesses. So you don't have to bring the ox to Bezdin. If there are two witnesses that said that witnessed the damages, right? Meaning we're saying that the Dini Nefashis case was already adjudicated, and now we're talking about the Dini Mominis case. We're saying as long as, so Rab Akiva would say, as long as you have two witnesses who saw what happened, so you don't need to schlep out the ox. So if that's the case, then according to Rabbi Akiva, you should be able to judge the Dinei Mominis case after the Dinei Nefashis case based on the testimony of the witnesses. So if that's the case, then how can we explain that this Brisa is even like Rabbi Akiva? So it says Rabbah that he says to the people over there, Afilutem Rabbi Akiva, you can even say that this Brisa is like Rabbi Akiva. Here what are we talking about? Kigon she barach. Well, it's talking about where the owner of the ox ran away. He's not around. and therefore we can't judge the case. He's gone. And that's why we're not judging the Dinei Mamonis case. He booked. Ibarach. But if he booked, Kilo Danu Dinei Nefashis, Heichi Dainina Le Dinei Mamonis below Bailim. So if that's the case, that the guy ran away, so what relevance is there? But we were like this. Brisa is Davka seems to okay. The case in our Brisa is talking about, well, if you already judged Dinei Nefashis, because you already judged the Dinei Nefashis case, therefore you can't judge the Dinei Mamonis case. But if we're talking about where the guy booked, this has nothing to do with the fact that you already judged the Dinei Nefashis case, and that's why you can't judge the Dinei Mamonis case. You can't judge the Dinei Mamonis case because the guy booked, regardless of if he already judged even if you didn't judge the Dinei Nefashis case yet, you still wouldn't be able to judge the Dinei Mamonis case. The guy booked. He's gone. You can't adjudicate without a guy. You need a guy. Again, today's Friday. They're going to give they haven't given yet. So I don't know what the verdict is, what they're going to say at the Hague. But to quote the lawyers from the other week, right? You have to, what was it? You can't clap with one hand, be'etzim. So here, right? So that's be'etzim what the lawyer was saying at the Hague. You can't clap with one hand. It takes two sides of a case. And if one of them booked, then you can't make the case. Okay, so again, so Ibarach, if we're talking about where the guy booked, I think booked means like to book. So Kilo Danu Dinei Nefashis, so even if they didn't yet adjudicate, I think adjudicate means to like adjudicate, I think. So then Heichi Daininan, sorry, I try to hold in my laughs. They're not even, honestly, that wasn't even funny, but I don't know. Sorry. I'm sorry. So even if they didn't judge the Dinei Nefashis case, still, this has nothing to do with the fact that they judged the Dinei Nefashis case, right? The fact that we can't adjudicate the Dinei Mamonis case has nothing to do with the fact that they already judged the Dinei Nefashis case. Even if they didn't judge the Dinei Nefashis case, Heichi Dainina Le Dinei Mamonis below Bailim. How can we anyways judge the Dinei Mamonis case if the guy booked? So, and for the Gemara, the Kabul Saidei Uvarach. Well, they had already accepted the testimony of they had already accepted the testimony for the Mamonis case, and then he booked. So we'd be able to, judge the Dinei Mamonis case at this point. Okay, fine. All right, fine. All right, because they already accepted the testimony. So now, but then the guy booked after the testimony. Okay, and the only thing that we have to potentially pay for the Mamonis now, the guy booked, all we have is this cow. All we have to pay with the Mamonis is this cow. So now, if they haven't yet judged the Nefashis case, well then the cow has not yet been condemned to be killed. So you can use it for payment. But if the Dinei Nefashis case was already adjudicated, so then this cow is Chayiv Skila, you cannot use it for the payment. So that is why it matters if the Nefashis case was already adjudicated. Because the guy booked, and the question is, can we use his ox now for the payment? If the Dinei Nefashis case was already adjudicated, then you cannot. If the Dinei Nefashis case was not yet adjudicated, then you can. But for the Gemara, sof, but at the end of the day, I don't understand what difference that makes. Even if the Dinei Mamonis case, the Dinei Nefashis case, was not yet adjudicated. Okay? So you say, okay, I don't know what I just said. If the Dinei Nefashis case was not yet adjudicated, so you say, okay, let's judge the Dinei Mamonis case, and then we can use the ox for the payment, but sof, ultimately, Mehecha mishtalim. How are you going to pay? Because ultimately, so you judge the din imam in this case first, but then we're going to judge the din in nefashis case, and this cow is going to have to be stoned. So you're not really accomplishing anything by judging the din imam in this case first, and for the Gemara, meiridya. Well, what you could do is, you can adjudicate the din imam in this case, and then you can have the ox do a bunch of work, plow fields and stuff like that, get your money, right, sell out the ox for hire, that you can plow fields or whatever it is, and then you'll make money, use that money to pay back the damages in the Mamonis case, and then, I think the point is that then you'll adjudicate the Nefashis case and stone the ox. Yochi, Tam, Nidaine, Dine, Mamonis Bereshus, then why don't we do the Zel Bazach by a short tam? We said that if a short tam killed and then damaged, so then it's Chayiv Dine Nefashis, but the din imam in this case is a non-starter. But why is that? Do the Zel Bazach, do the same thing by the short tam. So Nidani din imam is bereshis. First judge the din imam in this case. Vin ishtali miridja, and let it do some work and it'll pay off from the work. V'hadar Nidani din nefashis, and then we'll judge the din nefashis case, and then it'll be Chayiv Misa at that point. Omer of Mori, Breder of Kahana, Zosomeres Ridya, Aliyah Demara. Who? Well, this implies that the ridya, that hiring it out to plow and stuff, it's considered like the aliyah, and a shor muad is mishalim in aliyah, but not a shor tam, so that would only work for shor muad, not for a shor tam. Holy smokes, that was not that much Gemara, but that was a lot. I think I did a decent job on that. That was hard to do last night when I was really sleepy. Ibaya lahu, they ask a kasha. Yesh omed linizakin o ein omed linizakin. So do we have to make an evaluation when it comes to damages or not? Right? A guy comes all damaged up, and and he says, look, that guy, he damaged me. So the question is, do we have to look at that guy and try to evaluate, is that guy capable of doing the kind of damage that this guy is saying that guy damaged? How is that? So Yibari asked the kasha, Yesh omed l'nizakin or ein omed l'nizakin. Do we do these evaluations by damages to figure out is it possible? Is this really plausible? Do we do an evaluation? Right? Do we say dafka by murder? We try to figure out, is this something that could have led to this fellow's death or not? Or maybe it was something else. But by damages, we say no evaluation is necessary. If there's damage, there's payment. Or perhaps lo shna, no, we treat din imamnis and din nefashis the same, and that we have to evaluate to figure out, if the claim makes sense, is plausible. Tashma coming here. Mabor sheyesh bo k'dei lamis asar tfachim, avkol sheyesh bo k'dei lamis asar tfachim. So we said that a pit, in order to kill, needs to be 10 tfachim deep. Hoyu pchusin me'asare tfachim. If the pit was less than 10 tfachim, v'nafal l'socho sharu chomer, and an ox or a donkey fell into this less than 10 tefach pit, uvames, and it died. It went to oxwood. Potter. So the owner of the pit is potter because it's less than 10 tefachim. It was a fluke. Less than 10 tefachim, we assume, is not capable of killing an animal. And if it fell in and died, it's a fluke, and then the owner is potter. Huzakbo, however, if the animal got damaged, chayiv. So then the owner of the pit is chayiv, because a boar that's less than 10 tefachim is capable of damaging. It damaged. The owner of the pit is chayiv. I forget what this means. I forget which one's mata and which one's mala. Mata, I think it means from tefach 1 to tefach 10, it's all the same. And whether it's 1 tefach deep, whether it's 9.9 tefachim deep, it makes no difference. You're going to be chayiv for damages. This is what it's saying. Mitefach v'arasara, that from tefach number 1 up until 10 tefachim, misaleka, the pit is incapable of providing death. I don't feel like providing is not the right word there, but as far as I'm concerned, it works. For providing death, nizakin ika, but up until 10 tefachim deep, it is capable of providing damages. So almo linizakin kaldu. So we see that when it comes to damages, if it's capable of damaging, it's capable, right? Meaning, if there's damage, there's damage and there's payment. Whether it's 1 tefach deep, whether it's 9.9 tefachim deep, makes no difference. If there's damage, then there's payment. Shmamina in omdin l'nizakin. So we see that we do not evaluate the damages and try to figure out, hey, was this damage? How deep was it? No, if there's damage, there's payment. Lo nisht mimaylo lemato ka choshiv. No, we're not evaluating from tefach 1 to tefach 9.9. Fakert. We're evaluating where it goes from tefach 9.9 down to 1 or up to 1, whatever it is. This is what it's saying. Asore, if the pit is 10 tefachim deep, miso, ika, if an animal falls in, chayav, misa. Pachis me asore, purta, if it is slightly, I don't know what I just said. If it's 10 tefachim, wow, this coffee isn't working. This is my 2.5 coffee. I mean, I already drank 2 coffees. Now I'm like partially way through this one. My brain is like still not up. I've been up for a really long time so far. What's it like? It's like noon. I've been up for like 10 hours. And my brain is like still not on yet. How many more coffees do I need to drink? Alright, 1 second. Let me just sip a coffee while I think about that. So if the animal falls in and takes the fast track to Oxwood, so then it's chayv misa, right? So asar misa ika pachos me asar purta. If it's just a shtickle less than 10 tefachim, 9.9 tefachim, nizakin isa misa leka. So then we're already in damage territory. But I'll say to you, yesh omed l'nizakin. That at that point, once we get to the damages, we figure out, okay, what exactly happened? How damaged did it get? Umidi ki eichi demitzako bei ba'inon. And I guess at every step of the way, I guess at 9.9 tefachim, it's capable of doing such and such damage. At 5 tefachim, it's capable of such and such damage. By 1 tefach, just twisting an ankle, whatever it might be. Zeo. So I think it's saying like, no, we do taka evaluate. Tashma, come in here. Hiko al eino visimo. If he gave him a knack on the eye and he went blind. Al ozno v'chesh, gave him a knack on the ear and he went deaf. How do you know he just didn't put in, maybe he inserted noise cancelling headphones? Maybe that's what happened. He just, he put a noise cancelling headphone in his hand and he knocked him on the ear and slipped in the noise cancelling headphone. Maybe that's what happened. We'll never know. He knocked him on the ear and made him deaf. Eved yotze boen lecheris. So, an Eved would go. Sorry, I got distracted. I was thinking about how I complain so little these days because now that I have the noise cancelling headphones. But I have plenty of opportunity to discuss other things like how I have noise cancelling headphones and don't complain. So okay, so alozno v'cheres. Okay, fine. So evidotzi bon lecheres. So if you knock him on the eye and blind the eye, knock him on the ear and deafen the ear. So an eved would go free. Kineged eino. But if you didn't knock him on the eye, but I don't know, he threw a rock at the wall or something and it shattered right by his eye or something. Ve'eno roe, now he can't see. Kineged ozno, right next to his ear. Ve'eno shomeh, now he can't hear anything. Ein eved yotze boen lecheris, the eved then would not go free. My time, akam lab mishum debainun umdino. Is it not because we evaluate the situation. We say, okay, what exactly happened? You didn't knock him in the eye, you knocked him next to the eye. Come on, that's not really capable of blinding. the Eved does not go free. V'shmamina yeshum dina l'nizakin. So let's argue that taka there is evaluations when it comes to damages, and that's why the Eved does not go free, because we're like evaluating. Was it really possible of blinding his eye? Was it really possible of blinding, of deafening his ear? Lo, nisht. Mishum de amrinon. No, the reason why he doesn't go free is because it's nothing to do with evaluating the damages, but the Aminu we should say who the ivis nafshe. He startled himself. Kilu, what happened was, I don't know, the thing got hit next to his eye or whatever, and then he kind of got all startled and worked himself up, and that's how he got blinded. Kidatanis within the brisa, hamavis is chavero, that if a person gets his friend all scared, so then patur b'dinei adam v'chai b'dinei shamayim. So he's patur b'dinei adam. We can't convict him of anything. Chai b'dinei shamayim, but not b'dinei adam. Ketzad, what is this? Toka be'ozno v'chersho. If he blew in his ear and then he became deaf, patur. Then he's patur. Achazo v'tok be'ozno. But if he chapped him, if he grabbed him and then blew in his ear, v'chersho, and he made him deaf, chayiv. So meaning, it sounds like if it's incidental, so then he's going to be potter, because I guess we assume that the victim kind of ended up getting himself all worked up, and that's what caused the damage. But if the perpetrator mamish chapped him and then he, I don't know, blew in his ear or something, so then the perpetrator will be chayiv. Coffee. Okay. The people are coming down the stairs. It's rainy out today, but maybe it's not so rainy now. Tashma, come in here. I think that's what we're up to. Chamisha dvarim omdin oso v'nosnin lo miyad. Okay, so when it comes to the Chamisha dvarim, the 5 things, I think that's what it's talking about. Nezek, tzar, ripoy, sheves, boshes. So we evaluate and we give the payment immediately. Now, ripoy, interesting. When it comes to ripoy v'sheves, the hospital bills and the days of not working, ad she'yisrape, so then the payments are until he gets healed. Right? So what they do is, when the guy gets hurt, so on that day, we make an evaluation. Okay, how long is he going to have to be in the hospital? He's going to have to be in the hospital. We estimate he's going to have to be in the hospital for 2 weeks. So we say to the damager, we say, all right, pay for 2 weeks worth of hospital bills. Skip the next thing until Amadu v'hivri. Skip to the next line, halfway through the next line. Amadu v'hivri, that's the goes, you could thank the goes Sabach for that. Amadu v'hivri, now if they evaluated that he was going to have to be in the hospital for 2 weeks, v'hivri, and, but he mamish made a miraculous recovery. After 1 week already he's home. Nosn lo koma she'amadu. We give him whatever 2 weeks worth of, right? Meaning we give him cash for 2 weeks to cover the hospital bills. If it ended up being 1 week, buy yourself something nice. Shmamina yesh omid linizakin. So we see that there is evaluations when it comes to damages, right? They just evaluate how much time he's going to have to be in the hospital. So, but says the Gemara, but look, Lememid gaver kameli kotzer mia meha make kamelo mekatzer lo kami boyalon devadi amdinon. Look, to evaluate how long he's going to have to be in the hospital so we can pay the ripoy. Of course, everyone agrees that we have to evaluate that. How else are we going to know the ripoy? Kikami boyalam, what we're asking about is lememar cheftza. We're not talking about evaluating the damages and how much the guy is owed for his payment, how much he needs to be, the damager needs to pay the victim for his damages. Of course we have to evaluate that. What we're asking is, in Bezdin, when trying to figure out should there be damages claimed bichlal, or what kind of damages would be possible to be claimed? What kind of damage was possible to be done? He's saying that he got knocked with I don't know, a ping pong ball. He comes and he says that, look, he hit a ping pong ball at me. We say, look, a ping pong ball is only capable of doing so much damage. I think I got sidetracked over there. What we're trying to ask is not how do we evaluate the damages that are owed. What we're asking is about when Bezdin is trying to figure out what in the world happened. What is this guy even liable for? Is it even possible, is it even plausible that such damages happened under such circumstances? That's what we're trying to figure out. Do we evaluate or not? My Tashma Shimon Atimni Omer says Shimon Atimni my egrof miyuchad shemasu la'edav la'edim avkol miyuchad shemasu la'edav la'edim shmamina yesh omer the nizakin shmamina. Look, Shimon Atimni had said that just like your fist is something that you bring to Bezdin and it can be evaluated by Bezdin, it can be evaluated by the witnesses. So we see that yes, we do evaluate things. We do look at the guy's fist. We say, is it a big fist? Is it a small fist? How many fingers does it have, etc. And we do make such evaluations. Shmamina. So we do evaluate such things. I'm going to drink more coffee. All right. Where are we? Fine. Omar Mai. We said, Omadu ve'evri, that if we evaluated him that he's going to be in the hospital for 2 weeks, so we said to the damager, all right, we need you to cover a 2-week stay in the hospital. V'hivri, but he got better quicker, after 1 week maybe. Nostin lo kol ma'ashamadu, so the damager still has to pay the full evaluation, 2 weeks. Misayeh le l'rove, this Takis supports Rove, the Omar Rove, that Rove ot gesagt, Hai man de amadu, that if they evaluated that the fellow is going to be out of work for a full day, so he's owed a full day's worth of wages, but after a half a day he's already feeling better and he can go back to work, and he goes to work for half a day, nonetheless, he still receives that full payment, so he's going to be paid for a full day of work, plus he worked half a day, but that doesn't, the fact that he worked half a day doesn't make a difference. He still will receive from the damager a full day's worth of work, payments. The Eibishter just had moisi on this victim, and so he's still going to get a full day's worth of payment from the damager, even though he actually ended up working half a day. Rokak v'giabo harok. If a guy got spat on, Vehevir v'chulei, okay, or if somebody takes off somebody's clothes. Omer apopet lo shanu ela bo. So we're only talking about if the spit hits the guy. If it hits his clothing low, then no, we're not talking about that. But even if it hits his clothing, that's still chaval. Should at least be like when a person gets damaged, I think like verbally. My Rav Mishmei Rabbi Yossi bar Rav also marries bisho b'dvarim poter miklum. So this would imply that bisho b'dvarim, I think it means embarrassing somebody verbally, poter miklum, so you'd be poter, right? Because we're saying that spitting on somebody's clothing should be, I guess, on the same level of embarrassment as embarrassing somebody verbally, and we're saying that he's poter when he gets spat on his clothing from boshes, so it sounds like then we would conclude that, okay, that embarrassing somebody verbally also would be poter from boshes. Hakol fi kvodo v'chulei. Let's talk a big old daf. So hakol fi kvodo. Right. So in the Mishnah we had said that boshes is all based on the person. Then comes Rabbi Kiva and he says that afilu ani shebi Yisrael roin oso ki'ilu im bnei chorin sheyodim nechseim, that even a poor fellow, a poor yid, we treat as a ben chorin sheyodim nechseim, that the bnei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. The shaila was the Tanakama being lenient and Rabbi Kiva was being stringent, or was the Tanakama being stringent and Rabbi Kiva was being lenient? Meaning, Rabbi Kiva is basically saying we treat everybody the same. We treat all Yidden like an Oni, Shebi Yisrael, and Sheyadim Nichseim. So was the BavaKama saying that Akol Lefi Kvodo, that a poor fellow would receive very little boshes, and Rabbi Kiva is saying Mapitom, right? Meaning, right? So the BavaKama was being lenient and saying that by a poor fellow there would only be a little bit of boshes. Rabbi Kiva is being stringent and saying Mapitom, even an Ani we treat as a ben chorin sheyadu minichseim, or as a fakert. Is the BavaKama being stringent and saying hakol lefi kvodo, and if it's a big oshir, if it's a wealthy person, then the sky's the limit? And Rabbi Kiva is saying, whoa, hold your horses. The sky is not the limit. Everybody we treat like bnei chorin sheyadu minichseim. So Ibayu the Asakasha BavaKama lekula ka'amar, is he being lenient? Or the Chumra ka'amar, or is he being stringent? Lekula ka'amar, is he being lenient? The ika'ani the lo boy lemishkol kuliyai, is the BavaKama saying that a poor person, the boshes would not be all that much? And Rabbi Kiva is saying, no, even a poor person we view as a ben chorin sheyard minichseim. Or lechumra ka'amar, wait, did I just? Or the kula kama dika ani dilo by the mishkol kuliyai. Or dilma, or perhaps the chumra ka'amar, or perhaps the BavaKama is being stringent. The ika ashir to buy the mace of leitvei, that a big ashir, the sky's the limit. The boshes will be very, very expensive. And Rabbi Kiva is saying, hold your horses. Tashma midika Rabbi Kiva. From the fact that Rabbi Kiva responds davka with regard to aniyim, he frames it in the context of aniyim. The Rabbi Kiva says, "Afilu aniyim should be Yisrael." No, even a poor person, roin oson kilu ein bnei chorin sheyardu b'nichseim shem bnei Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov shmamina BavaKama lekula kama shmamina. So we see that we're talking about aniyim, meaning we're in the sugya of aniyim that the BavaKama was saying that hakol lefi kvodo, and if it's an oni, the boshes will be very little boshes, will be very inexpensive. To which Rabbi Kiva says, "Ma pitom aniyim afilu ani should be Yisrael." Meaning we're talking about aniyim, so it must be that BavaKama was being lenient, and that's saying that in ani the boshes would be very, very little, and Rabbi Akiva is responding to that and saying no, even in ani also ki'ilu hu b'nei chorin sheyadu minichseim. Okay. And there was a maise with a fellow who revealed a fella's a hair in the market. And then he asked Rabbi Akiva, can you give me some time? And then during that time, that son of a gun went and he pulled some shtick that he waited out for, and he got witnesses. Do we give, right? He asked, can I have time? Do we give time? Rabbi Akiva granted him time. Is that, I thought, do we really do that? That we don't give time. So kilo yavinon leizman lechabol dechasim amona aval leboshes to lechasim amona yavinon. Look, when it comes to chabolis, when it comes to things that cause a loss of money, we don't give time. Right? The person deserves to get paid back. Embarrassment, which doesn't have an immediate loss of money, so we can give time for that. And he asked for time, Rabbi Akiva gave him time. Shomer emedis al pesach chatzera hoho. So if he found her, she was standing at the entrance of her house, and he broke the jug, and then she was using the oil, that whole thing. But we have a price. Rabbi Akiva says to the guy, you went swimming in the almighty waters, and all you pulled up, not any buried treasures, some earthenware, nothing useful. A person is allowed to damage himself. So you got nothing. Person's allowed to damage, meaning his whole raya, the shtunk's whole raya, was, why should I have to pay her boshes? She embarrassed, she uncovers her own hair to put oil on. What did I do? I'm only doing what she does anyways. But he says, yeah, but a person's allowed to damage themselves. She's allowed to do it. So the thing is, our Mishnah said that even though a person is not allowed to damage themselves, if they do damage themselves, they're nonetheless pastor, but somebody else who damages them is chayiv. In this brisa, Rabbi Akiva is saying that a person is allowed to damage themselves. So is a person allowed to damage themselves or a person not allowed to damage themselves? What is it? Amar Rove loy kashe. Rove says it's nishta kashe. Kan b'chabolo, kan b'boshes. Chabolo, you're not allowed to damage, you're not allowed to wound yourself, but you're allowed to embarrass yourself. V'amastisim b'boshes, who? V'katon yachov ba'atzmo, av bishenu rashai, potter. But our Mishnah is talking about boshes. And it says that even though a person is not allowed to, he's still potter. So apparently boshes is not allowed. Look, this is what Rabbi Akiva is saying to the shtunk. Lo mi boya boshes de adam rasha levayish esatzmo. Look, a person's allowed to embarrass themselves if they want to embarrass themselves. Elo afilu chabola de ein adam rasha lechabatzmo. But even when it comes to damage, where a person is not allowed to wound themselves, acherim shechavlu bo chayovim. But where am I? Chabola de ein adam rasha lechabatzmo. Acherim shechavlu bo chayovim. Period. If other people, right, even though he's not allowed to damage himself, if other people damage him, that person will be chayiv. Alright. What did I just say? What's the like the logic there? 1 second. Wow, when I was reviewing this earlier, this like made sense in my mind, but I think I just wasn't paying attention. Wow, it's actually more the logic here is a little bit more tricky actually. So what Rabbi Akiva is saying to the shtunk is that where am I? Slomi boya boshes. So when it comes to boshes, which so let's read it with Rashi. Top Rashi on the Amud. The whole of Adam Rashi, it says lichbo, but it's levayish. Since a person is allowed to embarrass themselves, ki biesh ba'atzmo uvishu bo acherim lo mifter b'hachi. Right? So, since a person is allowed to embarrass themselves, when somebody else embarrasses them, that other person is chayav for embarrassing them. Let's go weiter for a second. But even when it comes to damaging oneself, chabola mamish wounding oneself, the ain rashayba, that he's not allowed to do it. And you might say, since he's so fashtunkin, he's so messed up, the ain makbid, that he's not even makbid on his own wounds, lo nichayv v'achrine ilave. So other people should not be chayav for wounding this person if he himself wounds himself. Afilu achi chayav, and even so they're chayav. Then certainly when it comes to, when it comes to embarrassing oneself, where like, a person's allowed to embarrass themselves. So like, if they embarrass themselves, they're allowed to. They're not doing anything wrong. But somebody else is not allowed to embarrass them. But I might think, but I might think that when it comes to wounding oneself, that if somebody's not allowed to wound themselves, and if they do, then they're crazy. So then somebody else wounding them should be potter. This person's so crazy he wounds himself. Somebody else should be potter for wounding, right? So that's what Rabbi Akiva is saying. Such weird logic. But in the Mishnah, when the Mishnah says that when it comes to damaging, that a person is not allowed to damage themselves, and if they do damage themselves, they're potter. If somebody else damages the chayiv, what he's saying is that, look, when it comes to boshes, that a person is allowed to damage himself, so he's not doing anything crazy. When it comes to boshes, embarrassment, the person's allowed to embarrass himself. So by embarrassing himself, he's not doing something crazy. So certainly another person who then goes and embarrasses him, that person will be chayiv. But even when it comes to wounding oneself, that a person is not allowed to wound oneself. And I might think that, so if he does wound himself, then that means that he's crazy, and therefore somebody else should not be chayiv for wounding a crazy person who wounds himself anyways. Even so, he's going to be chayiv. Wow, that ended up being, the logic there ended up being more tricky than I realized. Okay, fine. Okay, so, alright, so whatever it is, the guy, he's a shtunk, and he has to pay her for embarrassing her. Now, is it really true that a fellow is not allowed to wound himself, he's not allowed to damage himself? But we learned the price. This daf is a big old daf. Is this going to be an hour, this daf? Might be. It's taking a lot of koiches. A lot of coffee too. Let me drink some coffee. And let's do it. Okay, where am I? Oh, here we go. Take a deep breath. I'm not going to take a deep breath. It takes too much koich to take a deep breath. It's where I'm at. I don't have the koich for a deep breath. Just take regular breaths. Is it true that a person is now that damage himself, wound himself? We learn about so yachol nishba lahara ba'atzmo v'lo hara yehi potter. You hear the kasha? If a person makes a shvua, we haven't learned yet Masechta Shvuas. We learned Masechta Nedarim. Nedarim is about making things osir upon yourself. Here he's not making anything osir upon himself. He's just saying, I make a shvua that I'm going to wound myself. And he doesn't wound himself. So is he going to be so now what? So if he makes a shvua that he's going to wound himself, does he have to wound himself? Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's potter. So is it possible that it'll be potter? No, he's not potter. Talmud Omar says, Lahara o lehetiv. That if he makes a shvua, whether to do bad or to do good, whether to damage, even if it means he's going to damage himself. So just like when it comes to to do something good for himself, that's optional. So also doing something bad to yourself is optional. I will include nishba lahara ba'atzma lahara. Okay, I will say that this comes to include somebody who's going to damage himself and doesn't damage himself. He's going to be chayiv for that. Okay, so if you swear that you're going to damage yourself, you have to damage yourself, so therefore I guess it can't be usr. Shmuel says, no, when we talk about damaging yourself, be'eshid betunis, dechavose, gabi aros acherim la'ashivam betunis. So we're talking about fasting. We're not talking about actually wounding yourself. We're talking about if a person makes a shvur that he's going to fast, that he's not going to eat, so then he has to do that. He has to not eat. And when the Brisa then continues and talks about that he makes a shvua to do bad to other people, it's talking about forcing other people to fast. Acher mimosiv lu b'tainisa. How can you force other people to fast? Yes, you can. The mahadik lu be'androna, that you lock them in a room and you starve them. It's like in Eretz Yisrael, our neighbors are doing to the Yidden that they can capture. They take him and they capture them and they lock them in the room and they starve them. But we learn in a Brisa, what is the example of doing bad to other people? But we said explicitly, we're not talking about locking people in rooms and starving them. We're talking about if he says, I'm going to hit him and I'm going to break his skull. We're not talking about fasting over here. We're talking about hitting and breaking skulls. We're talking about chavala. And therefore, when we're talking about when he makes a shvua that he's going to do something bad to himself, it means he's making a shvua, he's going to break his skull. And that seems to be not osir. So ela tanoihi, rather it's taka machlokes tanoim dikal man do omer ein adam rasha dechabel ba'atzmo v'ikal man do omer adam rasha dechabel ba'atzmo. So it's taka machlokes tanoim. There's an opinion that a person is not allowed to wound himself, to damage himself. There's an opinion that he is allowed to. Who is the Tana who says that a person is not allowed to damage himself? If you can say it's the following Tana, who the Tanya, as we learn in the Brisa, I will, I will seek, I will go after your blood for your souls. Rabbi Lazar says, Rabbi Lazar, miyad nafsho seichem edros is dimchem. Meaning, I think it's talking about if a person kills them, like you can't, it's not, killing yourself is asur. Vidilma ktala shiny, but maybe killing yourself is different than damaging yourself. Elahai Tana. Okay, it's the following Tana. Titania. Elahai Tana with Titania. Mikarin al hames. You could tear kriya, you could rend a garment if somebody passes away. It's not going to be considered the ways of the Amorites. We don't go in their ways. Amar Abelazar says, Shamaiti that if a person tears too much, then it's batashchis, right? Don't destroy the garment more than it needs to be destroyed. And then we want to say, v'chol sheken gufo, and then certainly one's body. Kilu, if it's batashchis, if Rabbi Elazar is saying it's batashchis for tearing too much fabric, certainly it'll be a problem to injure oneself. V'dilma begodim shiny, so maybe not necessarily, maybe it's not so obvious. Maybe take garments are different. Garments are actually more stringent than oneself because because once you tear a garment, it does not get fixed. It's permanently torn. The Rabbi Yechon would call this clothing his honor. I don't know why that proves anything, but the point is that I guess you have to take them, you have to treat them very carefully. You have to honor your clothing. Rav Chizde, if he was walking among the thorns, madle lulemane, he would lift up his clothing so that the thorns would tear into his flesh and not into his clothing. While my flesh can heal, my clothing cannot. So maybe taka, it's not so pashut. Meaning, yes, Rabbi Elazar says that if you tear kriya too much, you have to worry about batashris. That might not necessarily be the case by one's own body. Elahai Tanu the Tanya, it's the following Tana that we learn in the Brisa. Amar Rabbi Elazar akaper bribi, babam. The Rabbi Elazar akaper the Great. He teaches Matam lo mechiper olav me'ashachot ala nefesh. When by a Nazir it says that he needs to get atonement for sinning against his soul. What soul did this fellow sin against? You know what soul he sinned against? That he, he made himself uncomfortable. Whatever. He stayed away from wine. That's not very nice. People like the wine, and he denied it from himself. A fellow who all he did was he says, I'm not going to drink wine, and he's called a sinner. Somebody who denies himself all of the things. Certainly, and Rashi says, called dover, somebody who afflicts himself with fasting. Certainly that's a big problem, and I guess we learned from there that you can't damage yourself. Hakotzitz nitiyosah v'chulei. Somebody who cuts down his fruit trees is not allowed to, but if he does, he's potter. But other people who do it are going to be chayav. Tani Rabba BavaKama kami de Rav. Rabbi BavaKama taught before Rav. Shori aragta nitiyosi kotzatzta. If Shimon says to Reuven, you killed my ox. You cut down my saplings. Where am I? Where am I? Shori aragta nitiyosi kotzatzta. And then Reuven responds, Ato amarta li lo hargo, ato amarta li kotzitzo. Reuven responds, he says, what do you mean? I was just doing what you told me to do. You told me to kill your ox. You told me to cut down your saplings. Potter, so Reuven's potter. Because he claims that Shimon told him to do it. Omele, Rav responds, Imkin lo shavakta chai livryosa. Seriously? Shimon accuses Reuven of killing his ox. Reuven says, you told me to do it. End of story. If Reuven simply denies it, then end of the story. How can anybody ever make any claims against anybody if they could just deny it? Kol kamine, what, could we just trust Reuven to say, you told me so, and then that's that? No further charges can be pressed? So Rabbi BavaKama says, all right, fine, I will delete this brisa from my brain. So Rav says, wait, not so fast, don't delete anything. To targem masnisech, just explain that the brisa is talking about, just make a shtickle tweak, that's it. Beshora omed la'ariga uvilana omed liktzitza. It's talking about an ox that needed to be killed, or a tree that needed to be cut down. And then Reuven cut it down. And Shimon's getting upset at Reuven for cutting it down, or for killing the ox. If that's the case, my katoin le. But why does Shimon care? If it's an ox that had to be killed anyways, or if it's a tree that had to be cut down anyways, what's Shimon getting all worked up about? The Amalei, because Shimon says, Ono bina lemei mitzvah. I wanted to do this mitzvah. Right? Meaning, I assume that what the point is saying is like, if an ox kills somebody, okay? So that's obviously bad. And we don't want anybody to have their ox kill somebody so that they could do the mitzvah, right? The Torah then says, what do? You stone the ox. I guess it's a mitzvah to stone the ox, right? Meaning, I think it's like kind of like divorce, right? Meaning, yes, there's a mitzvah to give a get, or for a husband to give a get to his wife. Now, I don't think anybody's encouraging anybody to get divorced to be makayim the mitzvah of gittin. But if you get divorced, there's a mitzvah of gittin. So I think here also the point is, yes, this was an ox that had to be killed. Okay, once already the ox had to be killed, Shimon wanted to be makayim the mitzvah of killing his ox in that context. Titanis, we learn in a brayso in a different context. V'shofach v'chisa, by kisoy adam. If you kill like a bird or a beast, you then need to cover up the blood. So misha shavach yichase. Whoever slaughters the animal should do the kisoy adam. U'maisa be'echad, there was a maisa with a fellow shashachat who slaughtered an animal. V'kodem chaver v'chisa, and then his friend did the kisoy adam before he did. V'chivo Rab Gamliel litain lo asar zuvim. And Gamliel was mechayev the coverer to pay the slaughterer 10 golden coins because he took away the slaughterer's mitzvah. So this is also what we're talking about. Shimon says to Reuven, you slaughtered, you killed my animal. Now this is an ox that had to be killed anyways. Reuven says you told me to. So in that case, Reuven is potter. We're talking about an animal that had to be killed anyways. Shimon's saying, well, I wanted to do the mitzvah. Reuven says, but you told me to do it. So in that case, we don't take it further from there, it sounds like. Okay, I feel like we're mamish getting very, very, very close to the hour mark. And we're not done yet. We might hit the hour mark, but it's not too much left. Amar Rav, says Rab, Diklo detoin kaba, also the mekatzitze. A palm tree that has a kav of dates on it, you may not cut down the palm tree. It's got dates on it. It's a fruit tree, you can't cut it down. How much olives should be on the olive tree, and then you can't cut it down because there's olives on it? It's a fruit tree. Rova, a quarter of a kav. So is it a kav? Or by the dates we're saying a kav. Over here by the olives we're saying a quarter of a kav. What is it? So shiny zeisim dechshive. Look, dates and olives are different. Olives are more choshuv than dates. Therefore, the olives we're talking about, right, a quarter of a kav already, you can't cut it down, but by cut down the tree. But by dates, it's only going to be uncut downable if it's already got a kav of a full kav of dates. Amr B'Chanina says, B'Chanina lo shchiv shivchas bri, my son Shivchas. Have you ever heard the name Shivchas? It's a nice name, I guess. My son Shivchas died because he cut down a fig tree, and he wasn't allowed to do that, and he cut down the fig tree, and that's why he died. Ravina says, but if the wood was very, very good wood, olive wood is geshmaka wood. So if the best wood around is this is olive wood or fruit tree wood, so mutter, then you are allowed to cut down the tree. Tani namiyachi, we learn in a brisa rak eitz asher teda. So when it says in the pasuk it says rak, only a tree that you know, ze'ilan maichel. That's saying it's talking about even a fruit tree. Kilo eitz maichelu, that it's not a fruit tree. Ze'ilan strak, that's a non-fruit bearing tree. Kilo eitz maichel. But I understand, we just basically said you can cut down fruit trees and not fruit trees. So why are we, so what's going on here? So why do you have to say fruit trees and fruit trees? Just say if you cut down fruit trees, maybe you can cut out not fruit trees. Lahaktim strak the maichel, it's to say that yes, but if all things equal, you should cut down the non-fruit bearing tree first. You should prioritize that. Is it possible that even if the fruit tree is a much better wood? It says only to, as a miut to say, no, only if all things are equal. But if the fruit tree is a better quality wood, so you can cut down the fruit tree. Shmuel Aisile Arise Tamre. Shmuel's sharecropper brought for him dates. Achil, Shmuel tasted a date. Toimbu Taima de Chamra, and he tasted the taste of wine. Omar Lei. And Shmuel says to his sharecropper, my eye, how come these dates taste like wine? Omar Le Beni Gufne Kaime. So the sharecropper says, because the date palms are among the grapevines. There are grapevines in the same area. Omar Makreshe Bechamra Kule Hai. So Shmuel says, wait, this isn't good. If the dates taste like wine, then that means that it must be coming from somewhere. It means that the grapevines are losing some of their oomph. So L'mocher Aisli Mikorayu, I want you to get rid of these date trees, these date palms, because they are taking away, they're watering down the flavor, the oomph of the wine. And I want the wine to be full oomph. So therefore, Shmuel said, cut down the date trees because they're diverting oomph from the grapevines. Rav Chizde Chaza Taile Ben Gufne. Rav Chizde saw some date, I think maybe date palm saplings or whatever between the grapevines. Omar Le Larisa, he says to the sharecropper, Akrinu, get rid of uproot the date palms. Gufne kani dikle lo kani gufne, because grapevines are much more valuable than palm trees, right? Wine, right? Grapevines ultimately, I guess probably the product from them, the wine, you can use, right, is more valuable, and with that money you can purchase date palms. You can't purchase grapevines with date palms, right? Meaning, the point is that wine is a lot more valuable than the dates. Therefore, get rid of the dates. Prioritize the wine. Friends, that was daf. I don't even remember. I closed my book already. That was daf Tzadi Aleph, daf 91 of Masechta BavaKama. That was a big old daf. I don't even know what we talked about anymore. That was a really big old daf. Peace out.